You know that feeling when you use an app or a website and it's just perfect? It's so simple, it just works. Every tap, every swipe, it feels totally natural, almost like it knows what you're going to do next. Well, let's get into that, because that feeling of effortlessness, it's probably one of the biggest illusions in the digital world. And that brings us to the big question for this explainer. Why do the best products feel like magic? Seriously, it's not an accident. There's a really deep and fascinating reason why some tech feels so intuitive and, delightful to use, while other stuff just feels clunky and annoying. And the answer, it's probably not what you think.
Because here's the real secret. That simplicity you're feeling, it's completely manufactured. It isn't the starting point, not by a long shot. It's actually the end result of countless hours, endless debates, and so many careful, deliberate decisions made by a whole team of people working tirelessly behind the curtain.
To really get this, we have to go where most people never look. We've got to dive deep beneath the surface of that clean, simple screen. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It completely flips our usual thinking upside down. We tend to think, oh, a simple product must come from a simple idea, right? No messy complications. But that's a total myth. The world is inherently complex, and the best products out there, they don't ignore that complexity, they wrestle it to the ground. The iceberg is honestly the perfect way to picture this. What we see as users, that's just the tiny tip sticking out of the water. Just think about Google Maps for a second. You see a nice, clean map and a simple blue line showing you where to go. But underneath all that is a colossal hidden foundation. You've got real-time traffic data from millions of phones, complex routing algorithms, satellite imagery, the whole shebang. That's the 90% of the iceberg that makes that simple blue line even possible. Okay, so if there's this massive iceberg of work under the surface, what is it actually made of? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the invisible engine. This is the machinery that powers the whole experience, the parts you're never, ever supposed to see. So what's actually in this hidden engine? Well, it's a bunch of huge engineering decisions. You've got architecture choices, which are kind of like the blueprint for a skyscraper. Get that wrong, and the whole thing comes crashing down. System boundaries define how all the different parts talk to each other without becoming a tangled mess. And then you've got performance, scalability, and reliability, which basically just means making sure it's fast, can handle a billion users, and doesn't crash on you. Every single one of these has to be solved, and solved perfectly for you to get that smooth ride.
Let's just zoom in on one of these, scalability. Picture the day a new iPhone is released, and suddenly everyone is using Apple Maps at the exact same time. Scalability is what lets that system handle a massive surge like that, going from 1 million to 1 billion users without even breaking a sweat. If the team hadn't solved for that ahead of time, the app would crash the very moment it got popular. It's a huge piece of invisible work. You only ever notice when it fails.
Okay, so we know there's this giant, complex engine running under everything. The next logical question is, what do great teams do with all that complexity? How do they stop it from spilling all over the place and overwhelming the user? Well, they don't just deal with it, they master it. And this is pretty much how they do it. It's a 3-step dance. First, they absorb the complexity. They dive right in and take on the full, messy weight of the problem themselves. Then, they organize it. They take that chaotic knot of data and user needs and untangle it into a logical, manageable structure. And finally, and this is the key part, they design around it, building that simple interface that acts as a shield, protecting you from all that hidden work. And this quote just brilliantly sums it all up. Think about it like a world-class athlete. They make an incredibly difficult skill look completely effortless, but that's only because they put in thousands of hours of grueling practice. They don't show you the struggle, they just show you the perfect result. Good product teams do the exact same thing. They carry all of that technical weight so you don't have to. So here's the crucial takeaway. That feeling of an app being intuitive, fast, and clean isn't just some happy accident. No way. It is the direct result of a team successfully absorbing, organizing, and designing around an immense amount of complexity. That good feeling is the reward for all that invisible effort. All of this brings us to a new, much more powerful way of thinking about what simplicity really is. It's not about absence or emptiness. It's an achievement. It's actually an art form. So let's just get rid of our old idea. Simplicity is not the absence of complexity. That's a total myth. The new idea, the right idea, is that true simplicity is managed complexity. It's about successfully taming a chaotic and difficult problem and turning it into something elegant and easy to use.
And at the end of the day, that's the whole game. The real challenge of building great products isn't trying to pretend complexity doesn't exist. It's about having the skill to understand it, the discipline to control it, and the empathy to manage it, all so that the one person who never, ever feels its weight is you, the user. So, I'll leave you with this question. The next time you open an app and it just feels like magic, effortless, intuitive, simple, just take a second. Try to look past the surface. What kind of invisible engine can you imagine humming away, just out of sight? What hidden art will you see now?